This is neon, xenon, krypton, and a pretty fair whack of nitrogen.
So, no. One thing I was wondering is if you look towards the top of the tube, you kind of have those rings that kind of almost are circular at the top for a second. And I was wondering if you ever kind of just tried doing like a tube and running a filament down the entire way to see if you get that effect.
Running what?
If you look at the top, you kind of have those circular rings.
Yep, these little ones?
Yeah, and you have it with along where you have the filament. And I was wondering if you ever kind of tried playing your glass design around that.
It's hard to do because I'm in the middle of trying to drip this bubble off the pipe and not drop it on the floor,
Of course.
but not drop it too late and it stalls on the pipe. You got to find that sweet spot where it just drips off and the ambient air cools it enough to stall it from falling. And there's a whole world of stuff you could do. The main thing is you got to make sure it'll withstand full vacuum when you process it. If it'll withstand full vacuum, then you can probably fill it.
Probably had a couple of these breakdown before while you were making them, I'm guessing.
What's that?
Probably had a couple of them, like you were saying, breakdown, probably from all those different ways you have to be so careful when you're
Yeah,
rolling
sometimes you break them. It's not an exact science.
Does it send shrapnel all over the place when it implodes, or?
Well, when it's hot and like say you drip it off the pipe too soon, it just falls on the floor. And if you don't get it off the floor, it starts popping the concrete. But when you're processing it, if it's too thin or it's got a flaw or it's not annealed right and it implodes, you just get a big boom inside the oven. And you got to spend the next hour vacuuming all the little shards of glass out of the cracks.
And you have when you pump it down in the oven so that you can anneal it while it's.
I pump it, yeah. So what I do is, after I do an annealing cycle overnight. So I take it up to 905 degrees overnight and let it cool. And that takes all the residual strain out of it from blowing the hot glass and cold air. So it takes the thermal strain out of it. And then the next day I'll take them out of the oven, and then from that point on, any day, week, month later, to actually fill one, I put it back in the oven, I run it up to 625 degrees. While I'm doing that, I'm pulling on it with the roughing pump. And any contaminants like spit, dust, spiders, whatever it is, plus it actually like gets in the pores of the glass itself. You got to degas it. While it's going up to 625 and holding it at 625, I'm pulling a vacuum on it. And once I pull the vacuum on it for a while, then I shut the oven off and it starts to cool back down. At that point, I switch over to my good vacuum pump, and that pulls it down the rest of the way within a couple, 3 microns. And the nice thing is as it's hot, the air molecules in there are all more excited, and you get a lot better pump on its way down cooling than if you just tried pumping it sitting cold.
You still use a rubber coupling when you're doing that, or do you do
I
glass
do.
to glass?
I have one rubber coupling, and the rest is mostly metal. My pumping manifold is mostly metal, but I do have a glass barometer, a mercury manometer. And then I do have one rubber connection between the manifold and the glass piece.
The neon makers I've looked at just use glass to glass for everything.
Yeah, well, everybody told me my metal manifold wouldn't work,
Yeah,
so I was pretty hell-bent on making sure it worked.
except with
Yeah,
glass.
somebody tells you you can't do something, you usually want to do it.
Sure.
But yeah, most people in the vacuum doing any kind of neon or plasma stuff like this, 9 out of 10 guys have glass manifolds.
Wow. Must be pretty pricey.
Most of the time they make them themselves.
slate.
Yeah, that's true. Looks like a heart.
I was gonna say, it just
That's
looks like
kind of
a
like a
beating heart with a
beating heart
ventricle,
with it.
you know, with the